All right, I don't know how much time I have until Ari comes home. Um, Kat wants the food at the table because it's salmon and smoked oysters. Yeah, I've been having a lot more clarity, which is really cool because I've struggled with clarity the past few years. And like every time I'm asked to give an intention or something I want to call in, it was normally clarity. So I'm in a book club. I'm like thinking about spiritual things and healing things and also about like AI and what's going on with that and the political landscape. And my brain is involved. I could use more rest and more like time to integrate everything that I'm bringing in. But yeah, I want to like focus on this kind of win of like I can get into flow states where I'm putting things together in really creative and fun ways. I can give some modern examples. I just did a breath work, pretty intense one this morning with a guy, a somatic worker, which means in the body. And the cat's trying to eat my cheese as well. What, can you not be on the kitchen table? That would be very nice if you weren't on the kitchen table. There you go. Okay, so the body of work that I was thinking about today before I even did the breath work was like my own intuition and how like when we're hurt or injured, and this can happen as a children, and it happened to me. I had some kind of gross pervy men do like weird shit to me or say weird shit to me when I was 13 or 14 years old. Like 50-year-old men like try to make out with me against my dad's truck or like pet my legs while hey, can you nope, back off. Or try to pet my legs while my dad's driving the car and he's pretending like he's petting the dog, saying like good dog, as he like looks back and connects eyes with me as he's like touching my thighs. Told my dad about that guy. He got kicked out of the duck club. And then he became a security guard at the mall that my friend and I would always go visit, where my dad said, keep the fuck away from my daughter. Don't ever get near her again. But because he had like authority at this mall, he would like, for any reason, he'd like call me into the back room and be like, I was like bouncing a bouncy ball. And he's all like, you can't be bouncing a bouncy ball. And like, he's just showing his authority and he's just shoving it in my face. Like, I'm blatantly ignoring your dad's like telling me to stay away from you because I'm going to let you know that I have power over you by dragging you into the back room because I have power of being a security guard at this mall. Like that, like, and I was only like 14 or 13 at the time. Like that, like, I've always had a bad view of authority figures and I've always questioned them. And I'm wondering now, like, Kat, you're really killing me. Look at this. Look at this little thing. I'm going to put you down. Go somewhere else. Do something. Oh, you're so cute. Anyways, I wonder how that affected my view of authority figures and my feeling of safety around men. Who there was another guy when I was at church camp, and I was supposed to go with a good friend. Well, not actually a good friend. You'll later learn. But they were like, we're gonna do the bus together because it was a very long road trip, like many states away, and then we're gonna bunk together. The instant we got on the bus, she sat with someone else. I felt left out. I felt like abandoned, and I felt kind of like, oh great, now I don't even have a friend at this event because she's pretending she doesn't even know me, which she did often back then. Anyways, this guy was nice to me. We were in this long line for s'mores, and he waited in line. He came to me with a s'more and handed it to me and said, here, you can go roast yours now. I'll wait in line again. And I've never had a guy be like that nice to me. I was like 14 and he was probably 18 or 19, and he was like one of the camp counselors or camp helpers, and I was one of the camp students. And he would talk with me for hours about the female reproductive system and fallopian tubes. I had to write all this down in my book club, all my wounds. And they just kept coming. Like all these situations where much older men were like doing creepy things. We talk on the phone all the time, and my grandmother said, if you keep talking on your phone with that boy, you're going to end up pregnant. And you know what? I'm not going to feel sorry for you. Like, of course, I remember that exactly like you said it. You know, like there's some things that people say and you just remember them. That was something I'll remember of my dear, sweet, departed grandmother, who often said pretty intense and mean things. But, yeah, in the end, I think she was kind of right because he said things to me on the phone like, when is your period? Or have you started your period? And I was like, ew, why would you want to know that? And he said, so I can know when to impregnate you. He later broke my arm at church and didn't let me get my mom. He was running at me full speed and I put out my arm to stop him and like my arm broke and I was in intense pain. And I was responsible for watching all of these little kids in the monkeys room, the 5 and 6-year-olds, because my mom was in a seminar with all the other like people who look after the kids at the church. And I was responsible for them. We were at the gym. And this little girl, this like 5-year-old, she goes to get me ice in this megalopolis church that's gigantic. And she's my responsibility. I should never have let her left, but I was like faint. She managed to get all the way to the kitchen, get me ice, and like come back and give me ice. A 5-year-old girl, because she knew I was in pain. When this like almost 20-year-old man was like, shh, you're fine. You're fine. You can't get your mom. You're fine. Get over it. Get over it. You're fine. Like, and like he didn't admit it. To this day, he will not admit that he broke my arm. And this is a magic thing as well. I was in so much pain. We went back to the room and we turned on Veggie Tales. And I was in the back in pain, rocking back and forth with my arm, just wanting my mom. And he wouldn't let me get my mom. And I said I had to go to the bathroom. And I went to the room where the seminar was. And there was this little like glass plate, like a foot by a foot that you could look through the door. And I was looking through the door at all these heads that were facing in the other direction towards the person at the stage presenting. And I was just like feeling like, I want my mom. I'm in pain. And like one head turned around and it was my mom. And she like immediately knew something was wrong and got up and came right to the door to like help me and took me to the hospital. And prior to that, I already had a broken arm because my brother body slammed me. And I put out an arm to stop him, and it broke that arm. So then I had 2 broken arms when I was 14 years old from men not meaning to, but doing harm to me. Yeah. So, yeah, man, I went off on a thing already. But anyways, in the breath work, I kind of got to reclaim stuff, like reclaim parts of me that were lost. And I like thought about each one of these situations and I reclaimed my like innocence and like reclaimed these things that were lost. Like wait, like and then I was gothic. I put on all this armor after that. Uno momento, por favor. Hey, I'm just recording a quick thing and then I'll be available. Okay. Yeah, I'm a little bit like, just got out of breath work. Wanted to do some sharing. So, yeah, that felt powerful. Like getting to go back. Like when I was in the breath work, I was with my like little girl and was thinking about these things that has happened to her that has caused her to put up all these shields and walls. I know. I use the word walls all the time. Like I felt like I had a bunch of walls before someone could be with my heart. In college and in all my romantic situations, like I have all these walls, these defensive walls. So today it's been like working on like, how can I be connected to my heart, which is what the journey of the empowered heart is about. Is like that's where your power is. And I was dislocated from my heart when these like things happened to me when I was a young girl. And I want to like get back to that innocent, beautiful heart. Um, while also like understanding that there are reasons to protect. Like these defense mechanisms everyone gets, they helped at a certain point in time. Like if you were out of control, like someone took something from you and it was painful and you felt like you didn't have control at that moment in time, it might end up in you being a control freak or needing to control your environment so that you feel like safe in a bubble you've created. So like originally the desire to put on these protective things was for protection, and now how can I break down my wall to feel people from my heart and have my heart open. And like that was the interesting thing that Ari brought up today. It was like can like how can we learn to do both? Like have our heart open and be aware if like protection needs to be happening. And I feel like that's the space I'm getting to. And it feels great. Like I know that I've been cut off from my heart, especially moving to Hawaii. I see these people who can connect so deeply and it's beautiful, and I don't like compare. Like I like sometimes I compare, but I don't like have this like bad feeling about them. Like look, they can do something but I can't. It's more like wow, look at the beauty of the love that the people here have for each other and the freedom to hug each other for 10 minutes and look at each other in the eyes in such a present and like vulnerable way. And it showed me how garden I am. Like living there showed me like wow, I have a lot of walls. I have a lot of blocks to my heart. And in the past, like when I was there, I'd have to work really hard to like open up my heart. I'd have to do a cacao ceremony, chant, sing, dance. Like I'd have to put in a lot of footwork to like break into this like space of just my heart being open. And then I can connect in the way that everyone else seems to be. I can like give hugs and open up and show people who I am. Like I felt like often I lived in Hawaii for like a year and a half. I felt like many people never even saw me like the me, the real me, because defensive layers are there. And in the book, Empowered Heart, you're in a state of unconsciousness. Like when you're in your empowered heart section where you're like feeling, connecting, like working through things, feel like all this stuff, you're like in consciousness. And then the other side of the wheel, when you're have a wound, you feel pain, you feel like you need to protect yourself, you need to put up the walls, you're stuck trapped behind the walls because now you're in a cage and you've built yourself into a cage. And then if someone points out that you're in a cage, you can go in defense, to defend yourself. And all of that is like in an unconscious space. And that's why I had such an issue with clarity. Is because, like, how can you find clarity when I was disconnected from my heart? So I've been doing a lot of work to journal about the wounds, and I realized how many situations I've had where older men have taken advantage of me, conned me. One of them broke into my house and stole all my gold and my family's like antique guns, which my grandfather worked for Winchester, so like we had, and although it's weird, like I grew up hunting and fishing, so like I was slept downstairs and the gun safe was near me. I felt like I could protect my family. Like having access to these guns, I always like thought like if any intruder comes in, I can take care of them because I feel very confident and like handy with guns. And then to have them like come in and steal that and break into a home and like Yeah, and I don't know if I called him a boyfriend. I shouldn't have. He was just like a fling that I had, and I had all these stories that flings were bad and they led to bad stuff. And at some point, I put my wall down, and I'm like, oh, I just want to live life. And this guy was like very manipulative. You know, he was 10 years older than me and very manipulative, and like said all the right things, did all the right things. And later, I found out that yeah, I felt used, and I felt silly, and I felt stupid, and I felt betrayed, like deeply, deeply betrayed. And there's more to this story. Like, he did more to me physically, but I don't want to talk about it right now. And yeah, and then after that happened, I was on these fishing boats where no one spoke English for a month at a time, and I would just feel how betrayed I felt by this man, and how he conned me, and how he stole from me, and how he took part of my security. Like, that was like my safety. He like stole my sense of safety. So like all these things can be reclaimed, and that's like part of the breath work, part of the work that I'm doing, part of the healing journey that I've been on, to get back to that like innocent, open-hearted girl that was like just awesome. So yeah, this was kind of all over the place, but I hope it. I was only planning on being on for a minute. But lastly, like today, the other intuitions I had was like, I now, because of these experiences and because of these men, I now have like a good awareness and body sense. Like, I trust my intuition now. And if I'm like at a retreat, often there's like one kind of weird guy at a retreat, and I just feel like off around him. I just like trust that. Like, and often that guy is the guy who ends up, he's like 50 years old and he ends up hooking up with a 25-year-old at the retreat. So, like, yeah, and then men know that I have up that shield. If there's a guy who has like fishy energy, or like predator energy, or like gaslighting energy, or manipulation, narcissism, whatever, like I have like this energetic shield that I put up, and they know that they like cannot fuck with me now. Like, I've gone through a 4-year abusive relationship with lots of gaslighting, manipulation on the farm. And I came out of that feeling like powerless. Like, all of my boundaries were shot down. All of my like my consent didn't matter. You know, my sexuality was so harmed that I'm still in recovery, and I lost all of my sex drive for years. This was for 4 years I was with this person, and I'm in a reconciliation process with them. I never thought it would happen in this lifetime. But yeah, so like it wasn't just then. It's like been learning over my whole life. And then there was also a person on the farm who was one of the darkest individuals I've ever met. Two people on the farm that were two of the darkest individuals I've ever met. One of them murdered my cat, like by stomping it to death and not telling me. Like, psychically twisted people. And because I was already harmed and already in this like abusive relationship, I like was abused by more people, because they knew they could get to me. They knew that they had an in. And then like through years of tantra, years of healing, years of being single, and like deeply reflecting on this, rebuilding my boundaries, rebuilding consent, doing a lot of conscious sexuality work, doing a lot of learning, doing a lot of now reconnecting with my heart, and feeling like I can trust men again. I can trust my own judgments. Because originally that guy when I was 23 that broke into my house, I like he took advantage of me, but I made a judgment call. Like, I didn't see the signs. So I lost trust in my own intuition to like safely protect myself, starting at 23, and it kept going until my healing started about 28, 29, and it's continuing. But like now, because of these very harmful experiences, my like people, I have it up, and men know they cannot fuck with me now, and it's like amazing. It's a game changer. And I'm grateful for that. And now I'm like still working on how can I keep opening my heart, working from a heart space, being open to the world, being open to connection, being open to being vulnerable, and like not have these defensive mechanisms control my life or take over my life, but have them be a tool in my tool set to shamanically protect me, which is talked about in Medicine Women, this like beautiful book I'm reading about a woman who like lives in Brooklyn and she gets called to go up to Canada for 7 years to work with a Native American elder woman. Like it's amazing, but like there's like protective shields, and when you build stuff in these Native American cultures, you put your energy into the drum when you build the drum, or into the shield when you build the shield, or the rattle, and like you form these protective like objects to like help guide you and shield you as you move through life in hopefully the most open and vulnerable way you can. And this is talked about in this is all the stuff that came up for me today, so I'm just wanting to like recap on all of them. The book, The Woman Who Runs with the Wolves. I don't know if I said that right, but it's all about like your bones know, like the woman's bones have this ancient wisdom. And like as much as all these experiences scraped me, like all these breaks of trust hurt my soul. They tore me down. My consent was shot. My boundaries were shot. My voice was lost, and I couldn't speak up for myself. I couldn't say no. Like everything can be stripped of me all the way down to the bones, but like the bone, you can reheal anything. You can reheal everything just because those bones are there. The bones of the earth, the bones of your soul. Like eventually they will scream out, they will call out, and they will reclaim your essence, which is this beautiful shamanic practice that's talked about in these stories and these tales. And yeah, they talk about in that book this story of Bluebeard, who's kind of like a nasty man, like in my stories, and this woman's experience. Like the book is a bunch of tales, ancient tales of women getting to that point where they need to reclaim their soul, and how it is important to know about these protective shields, because there are men who want to suck things from you. There are people. I mean, I've just been saying men because this is my own life and this is my own experience, and this is where the wounds have happened for me personally. But anyone can seek to take something from you energetically, psychically. They want to beat you down. They want you to conform. They want you to just sit down and shut up or whatever. And this power of the soul and the female or anyone's soul to like protect against that stuff is very important, and that's talked about in the book, The Woman Who Runs with the Wolves, with stories and examples. So I hope you found this inspiring. I'm getting like, I need to drink my tea. I need to move on with my day. So Ocean Cat here. See you later.